Yep, we're doing it. Yep, the streaming gods have smiled upon us once again on this healthy Wednesday. I hope everybody is spectacular. I hope everybody is living their dream. I hope everybody is happy, healthy, and wise. And happy hump day. That's just how we do things. What's up, Karen? What's up, Susan? What's up, Great White Shark? Good to see everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. I woke up this morning and the first thing out of my mouth was I just turned to my fiance and I said, "All right, time to do this bullshit again." And she just rolled her eyes, and then the cat meowed, and we got up and fed Lucy. What's up, David? What's up, Shannon? What's up, DLJ? And when I said bullshit, I wasn't referring to this stream. I was referring to just the day in general. Just like, all right, here we go. Doing this again. Another day, another opportunity. But I got to pack. Because I'm getting ready to head to Texas. Which, by the way, grab your tickets, Texas. Grab your tickets. Graham Elwood and I are coming. Our first show is on Friday in Fort Worth. What's up, Anthony? What's up, Mystic Warrior? Who are you and why are you in my bedroom? I'm Ron, and I'm here because I'm in everybody's bedroom. That's just how I do things. What's up, Mike S.? We're going to get started here in just a moment. We're almost at 30. That's the drill here. If this is your first time, once we get 30 people, we start the stream. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Anthony? I already said what's up to you. We are at 24. We have some breaking news today, by the way. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys send me news, you guys send me articles, and that's how we build the show. I'm seeing everything for the first time. Some breaking news has happened. You guys sent a lot of stuff in today. We're not going to get to all of it, but we're going to get to as much as we can. And I actually need to start today, if you'll bear with me, with a retraction / clarification. I'll call it a clarification. Some of you guys know that recently I did a video about Andrew Yang. And I watched that video again, and I wasn't necessarily fair in a couple areas. And I decided that I should redo the video because, I don't want to just engage in useless mudslinging, especially towards a candidate who is still an outsider grassroots candidate. I'm not the biggest fan of Andrew Yang. I have some very strong disagreements with him. He's not my first choice at all, but he does have some good ideas, which I've always felt that way, and I think it's important that he gets on the debate stage because of those ideas, even though he's not my first choice, and I still have some strong disagreements with him. But I watched that video, and I felt like I said a few things, and I made a particular analogy that even though my intention wasn't malicious by any means, it really wasn't, it came off poorly. And I watched the video, and I kind of thought, this isn't a good representation of how I feel about this candidate. I just kind of only focused on the negative, and I brushed upon, well, he has some good ideas, and then I didn't expand upon it. So first, I'm going to talk about what I did wrong in that video and where I messed up. And then I'm going to talk about the ideas Andrew Yang has that I like a lot and why I think it's good he's going to be on the debate stage because of those ideas. And And then I'll talk about where I have my disagreements with him, which will, pretty much be similar to what I said in that first video if you saw it. I mean, all the disagreements I have with him, I stand by. I don't retract any of that at all. But I made a particular analogy that was not fair. And so I kind of wanted to clear the air on that. And that analogy was the Howard Schultz thing. So what I said was I said that Andrew Yang is kind of like Howard Schultz, but with some good ideas. Now, I meant that as more poking fun at Howard Schultz than anything else. That was how I intended it. Because, the idea was, well, they're both entrepreneurs. Andrew Yang actually has policy ideas, though. Some I agree with, some I strongly disagree with. Howard Schultz has no idea whatsoever. That was my intention. It did not come across that way in the video. I watched the video, and it did not come across that way. So whatever my intentions were, it doesn't matter. It did not come across that way. And I'll say this, when you hear Howard Schultz speak, a lot of people, even people that agreed with me that Andrew Yang was not a great candidate, were like, Ron, Howard Schultz, come on, that's a bit harsh. And even though I didn't intend it in that way, it was unfair. I will say this. I disagree with Andrew Yang on a lot of stuff, again. But if somebody told me there was a hypothetical where one of those two people was going to be president, either Howard Schultz or Andrew Yang, and I had to pick one, I would pick Andrew Yang 100 times out of 100. I would rather have Andrew Yang be president every day for the rest of my life than have Howard Schultz be president for a week. The more Howard Schultz speaks, the more I'm just, holy shit, dude. What are you doing? That's the only thing I can say when Howard Schultz is speaking. Holy shit, dude. What are you doing? When Andrew Yang speaks, I think those are some good ideas. I really disagree there. I have those various responses. Hey, that's a great idea. I really disagree there. I can't go there. And yeah, you're not my first choice. So that is a world of difference. And again, when I made that comment, it was off the cuff. It was intended more to poke fun at Howard Schultz. It did not come across that way. So I do retract that analogy as it came across in the video. And Andrew Yang is infinitely better than Howard Schultz. I don't see how anyone could feel otherwise. And a lot of the big Andrew Yang fans, they've already boycotted my channel. A lot of them said they're unsubscribing and boycotting me. So I guess none of them will see this. But maybe the word will spread. So that was something that I didn't come off right and was an irresponsible thing on my part. And I apologize for that. The other thing, I didn't focus on any of the ideas that he has that I like. So I'm going to talk about the ideas I like first. Then I'm going to talk about, why he's still not my candidate of choice. But, just kind of where all that stands. Okay, so here's something from his website. Which, by the way, some people were like, you never went to his website. I did go to his website, but, whatever. All right, so here's something really interesting. A local journalism fund. Andrew Yang favors the local journalism fund. Let's read this from the website. Local newspapers and websites are withering away. In small towns and communities across the country, local newspapers are a thing of the past. All right, so I will initiate a local journalism fund, a dedicated $1 billion fund operated out of the FCC that will make grants to companies, nonprofits, and local governments and libraries to help local newspapers, periodicals, and websites. And I'm sure he also means digital newspapers. So the goals are to affirm local journalism as a public good. All right, so this is something that no other presidential candidate, to my knowledge, is bringing up. It's really, and I'm not saying that other candidates would be opposed to it, but Andrew Yang, to my knowledge, is the only candidate talking about something like this. And it's really cool it's coming from somebody like him because he does have that background in big tech. Because he has that background, he understands what technological advancements can do for media, and he can speak on it on the debate stage. Realistically, this will likely not come up in the debates, but man, I wish it would. I really hope Andrew Yang gets an opportunity to speak about this on the debate stage. And I applaud him for bringing this up. Not many, I don't know of any other presidential candidates who are. And I knew this about him, and in that video, I didn't even mention it. And honestly, that's the main reason I wanted to redo this video. Because I rewatched it, and I'm like, you didn't even mention the journalism thing, which I had applauded him for in the past. So I think it's really cool he's bringing that up. Some people might be like, oh, that seems like not a big deal. No, that's a huge thing. Because again, I'm coming at this from the lens of somebody who sees the problem of the media in this country. You know, I used to say our media structure is toxic. Now I say we don't have a media structure, and that's toxic. And there are some different theories out there on how we can change that. And one of them is having an oversight committee to invest funds to lurkle. It's a new form of journalism where somebody just lurks. They just stand in the corner and they lurk. And you ask them, what happened in your corner today? And they tell you. And they get a fair hourly wage. No, but where you can put funds into local journalism. I think that's huge. You don't hear presidential candidates talk about that because, let's be honest, it's not a hot button issue. But if we had a stronger media in this country, which keep in mind with the Press Freedom Index, the United States barely in the top 50, if we had a stronger media in this country, a lot of things would change. A lot of things would change. So I applaud him for bringing that up, and that perspective on the debate stage from a presidential candidate would be huge. So that's one of the reasons I'm glad he's going to be on the debate stage. So in that video, I did not mention that, and I was wrong for that. Also, an idea that he is in support of, that I am in support of, which, by the way, is not a popular idea. A lot of you guys disagree with me on this one on the stream because we did a segment about it before, voting age 16. Andrew Yang's for making the voting age 16, so am I. I think that if you are letting somebody operate a vehicle that weighs thousands of pounds and could kill somebody if mistakes are made, which they are, that person can cast a ballot. That's what I think. And I've arrived at this perspective as somebody who has toured a lot of colleges, especially has toured a lot of colleges during election seasons because I'm billed as a political act. And I talk to a lot of students who the only reason they're not voting is because they're not old enough to. They're very informed on the issues, and I think they ought to have the right to vote. Some people make the argument that, oh, somebody under 18, they're not equipped with the life experience or the decision-making skills or whatever it may be to cast a ballot. I disagree with that. I think there are high information voters and low information voters of all ages. That's just how it is. There's people who vote for president every 4 years, and the factors they take into account have nothing to do with the president. They just kind of, do I have more money right now? Is it because of a tax bill the president passed, or is it just because of the way a 401k fluctuated? Doesn't matter. That's how I decide who I'm going to vote for president. How are gas prices looking? There's a lot of people, they talk about that when they decide the president has nothing to do with gas prices. People do that all the time. So why not let 16-year-olds vote? To me, that makes no sense. Being against it, I think is, I don't want to say, well, yeah, it's ageist, actually, I think. I mean, it's not like, if we were saying, like, 8-year-olds or something like that, okay, it's a bit fair to be like, you know what, let's let them, develop emotionally and develop ideas and critical thinking skills a little more. But 16, you can drive a car. I think you should cast a ballot too. So, yeah, I think the voting age should be 16. So does Andrew Yang. So those are the ideas that he has. Those are some of the ideas. There's other, Medicare for all. He's good on that. Now, where do I disagree with Andrew Yang? Living wages is the big thing. He does not support living wages. And I know when I brought that up, some people, well, the UBI will supplement living wage. No, you either support living wages or you don't. He does not. He has a soft spot for big tech. He doesn't want to do anything to break up Google or Amazon or Facebook or anything like that. He doesn't see Howard Schultz as an issue. He has talked about wanting to tax them more, which is good. But he has this big soft spot for big tech, which, that is his circle. That is where he has spent his professional life. And that is where his parents have spent their professional life. That's his circle. There's nothing wrong with that. The reason I brought that up and the reason I continue to bring that up is because when somebody is an outsider to politics, when you assess a politician, if they've been in politics a long time, well, you assess their past record. How did they vote in the past? How did they conduct themselves? Would this candidate be a good candidate or not? Do I want to vote for this person? When somebody comes from outside of politics, you think, gee, how have they behaved in their life? What have they done in the past? What are their past dealings? What are their past experiences? If somebody has this soft spot for big tech because they're in big tech, you kind of wonder, gee, if their circle becomes the military-industrial complex and the donor class, they might develop a soft spot for them. I don't think that's an unfair thing to make. Just like it's not unfair to say, gee, Donald Trump has screwed over working people and catered to the 1% and rolled with the 1% his entire life. What makes us think he would govern any different? And guess what? He hasn't. So, and no, I'm not comparing Andrew Yang to Donald Trump. I'm just saying when you come from outside of politics, you look at people's professional lives and you use that to assess, well, how would they govern? So those are two things with Andrew Yang that I strongly disagree with. Living wages being the biggest thing. And I know he's big on automation. I do think automation has a place in the conversation. However, with failing infrastructure, the dire need to do something about climate change yesterday, the dire need to invest in new infrastructure, extensive rail, solar, wind. There's no reason we can't put everybody to work in this country who wants to work and at a living wage. There's no reason for it. So, if you don't favor living wages, and again, a UBI, I'm not against a UBI completely. I just think that a UBI needs to have policies accompanying it, like rent control and other safety nets, for it to be effective. Somebody said that was a right-wing talking point. If you find somebody on the right who is talking about the need for extensive rent control across the country, please let me know. I'd be really curious to see that person. So this idea, and some people, well, Ron, wouldn't living wages cause rent prices to go up too? Well, no, not necessarily, because again, this involves an exchange. You are getting a living wage in exchange for the labor or service or product you supply. Now, with something like a UBI, now every landlord in the country knows that everybody is just starting out with an extra $1,000 a month, or whatever it would be. So they would just know that, and it just goes straight to the person. Another thing about Andrew Yang that I find concerning is if you go to this part of his website, here's how he says he wants to pay for the UBI. This is from Andrew Yang's website. It would be easier than you might think. Andrew proposes funding a UBI by consolidating some welfare programs. So what does that mean? Current welfare and social programs beneficiaries would be given a choice between the current benefits or $1,000 of cash unconditionally. So that's where he wants to go first. Social and welfare programs. So basically this is redistributing the wealth that we've already generated and that is supposed to go to helping people in the first place. So there you go. There are my big concerns about Andrew Yang. Just a UBI without any type of rent control attached. And again, if there was extensive rent control across the country, and I favor rent control no matter what. I think we need extensive rent control across the country no matter what. But I think without it, a UBI would be rendered useless real quick, and he wants to take it from social programs. That's where he wants to take it from. So basically, the funds already intended to help people, they're just going to revert that. So someone needs to pick between what disability benefits and getting their UBI. So those are my concerns with Andrew Yang and why he is not my first choice of a candidate. He does have some good ideas. I'm glad he's going to be on the debate stage. Ugh, stumbling over my words today. And he's welcome on the show anytime. I'd love to talk with him further about this. But there you have it. And as far as where I rank him, because something I mentioned in the old video was I put him right alongside Elizabeth Warren. And some people ask me why. Well, because I kind of see them both as similar candidates. They're both better than the other Democratic establishment candidates, which he's not. Andrew Yang's not a Democratic establishment candidate, but he is better than that cast. I mean, I would take him over Klobuchar. I would take him over Cory Booker. I would take him over Kamala Harris. I would take him over the Hickenlooper mom porn guy. I would take him over Gillibrand. Elizabeth Warren, I kind of consider them neck and neck because I see them as very similar candidates, meaning they have some ideas that I like. I don't consider them all that progressive. They're not the greatest candidate, but they do have some ideas that I like. With Elizabeth Warren in particular, someone asked why I singled her out. The drug bill that she was working on with Bernie Sanders that would really cripple Big Pharma in this country. It's a bill that would allow the government to make generics, and Big Pharma can do nothing about it. That would really cripple Big Pharma and would really change the way. And when you see people that have to, when you see articles where people are skipping life-saving doses of insulin because they can't afford it, a bill like that would be huge. And Elizabeth Warren's working on that with Bernie Sanders. So that's something about Elizabeth Warren that I really like. Just like Andrew Yang's local journalism idea is something about Andrew Yang that I really like. It's a really cool idea. And I think on the debate stage, he would do a really good job unpacking that idea. So that's why I see those two as the same. They're better than the rest of the Democratic establishment candidates, but I prefer Bernie and Tulsi. So there you go. I hope that clears everything up, and let's move on to some breaking news. Net neutrality. Net neutrality. Breaking news. This just happened. The vote just happened. Boom! House passes Save the Internet Act in response to strong and bipartisan public support for net neutrality. This is from Free Press. Shout out to Free Press and shout out to Fight for the Future. They have been on the front lines with net neutrality. And they're really doing the good work. I go to both their Twitter accounts whenever something is breaking. Fight for the Future yesterday and today was streaming the event in its entirety. Evan Greer, who you remember from the show, she did an excellent job on the show, and her album's fantastic, by the way. Pick up her album. But they've been covering this live and on the spot. They have been tweeting up to the minute, both Fight for the Future and Free Press, and they've done an excellent job. People were flooding the phone lines, and it worked. It did pass the House. It was pretty much along party lines. All Democrats voted yes. All Republicans voted no. I believe it was 232 to 191. But let's go to the article. On Wednesday, that's today, as of the recording of this, the House of Representatives passed the Save the Internet Act, voting to restore the strong net neutrality rules in Title II legal framework. A companion bill introduced in the U.S. Senate in early March is also gathering support as members of Congress respond to widespread public advocacy in support of the net neutrality legislation. All right, so today's vote is a tremendous victory. So it got through the House, but it's not over yet. Mitch McConnell, the net neutrality bill is dead on arrival in the Senate, says Mitch McConnell. Good old Mitch. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday that the Senate won't take up a net neutrality bill before lawmakers in the House. Dead on arrival in the Senate, McConnell told reporters about the fate of the House bill, which is expected to get a vote in the chamber this week. It got the vote. It passed the House. The bill would reinstate regulations put in place by the FCC requiring internet service providers to treat all web traffic equally. The Obama-era rules prohibited internet service providers from blocking and throttling web content or from creating so-called internet fast lanes. The bill is expected to easily pass the Democrat-controlled House despite a veto threat from the White House. And the Trump administration does strongly oppose the bill. So this is a victory in the House. It's good that it got out of the House. It's good that we have the records of the people who voted yes and the people who voted no. Now the pressure can be put on the Senate. It likely will not pass the Senate, as we've talked about in the past. And it would likely get vetoed by Trump if it does pass the Senate, which that is rare. But this puts it back into the public spotlight. It continues the pressure. And, again, it basically tethers the ability of the industry to do anything. AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, they can't unroll predatory packages that thumb their nose at net neutrality because they might just have to roll it back. They know it's being battled out in the courts. They know that legislation is moving forward in government, so they can't do anything. Their hands are tied. And they know how much public support there is for this. So this is a victory, but we have to keep in mind the type of victory that it is. It's a battle, not the war, so to speak, in this hypothetical. What is the way to permanently win the war when it comes to a free and open internet? Municipal broadband all across the country. Municipal, city-owned internet projects all across the country. That movement is gaining steam. I'm trying to bring it about here in Pasadena, where I live. It's an uphill battle, to say the very least. And I know a lot of you are doing the same. Somebody reached out to me recently. They became aldermen in their community, and they are trying to join Next Century Cities, which is the organization that will help you get the resources necessary and do the analysis necessary to build a municipal project in your community, to build internet in your community, city-owned internet. Joining that organization is completely free. You just need to get a city official or a mayor to sign on to it. I've been working on trying to get that in Pasadena. Nobody's responded to my email as of now, but it is something I'm working on. So this is big news for net neutrality. This is good news. Now keep in mind the Save the Internet Act, it is 3 pages, and all the attempts at putting terrible amendments in it were shot down. It is 3 pages, and it basically says, hey, those internet protections we got on the books in 2015, which, by the way, we've had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. We've had assumed net neutrality since the advent of the internet. Pretty much since 2004, digital rights activists have been calling for designated net neutrality on the books. They've been calling for it and calling for it and calling for it. Finally, the ISPs wanted to see what they could get away with. They took the FCC to court saying, hey, you can't enforce net neutrality. You can't enforce that. They were kind of unofficially enforcing it. They said, hey, you can't do that. The FCC lost in court. But the court told the FCC, hey, if you designate the internet a Title II, which makes it a telecommunications service, which means it has to flow like running water. It's just a free-flowing service. If you designate it a Title II, then net neutrality applies. So the FCC did that. Tom Wheeler didn't want to do that, but the public pressured him into doing it, and we got net neutrality protections on the books. And remember, without Title II, it's not net neutrality. We need that Title II protection. If the internet's considered Title I, which is what Republicans and Ajit Pai want to do, well, then it's considered an information service. You know what else are information services? TV and radio. We saw what happened with TV and radio. The same could happen to the internet. Your internet could look like cable television 2.0. Internet service providers can dictate what video loads fast and slow for you, depending on the content provider's ability to pay. And we would lose the free and open internet. That's what would happen. So again, this is a victory, but it will likely not lead to solid legislation signed into law anytime soon. It's likely not going to get out of the Senate. But this is huge that we're taking it this far, that the pressure is being applied. Apply pressure. Contact your senators. Go to battleforthenet.com for all the tools necessary to let your voice be heard. So this is a victory, but eye on the prize. We got to get city-owned internet all across the country. But good job, Fight for the Future. Good job, Free Press. Thanks for staying on the front lines for all of us. And, yeah, this is a victory. All right. Cool. So that's the breaking net neutrality news. So this article I don't know much about, and I'm excited to kind of read into it. And then, all right, you know what? We're going to go here first. So here first, Bernie Sanders, speaking of legislation, we'll stay with policy for a bit here. Bernie Sanders introduces new Medicare for All bill, welcoming war with insurance industry. Boom. Bernie Sanders on Wednesday is formally introducing, that's today, by the way, an updated version of his bill to enroll every U.S. resident in a single government-run health insurance plan. This new iteration of Medicare for All legislation looks a lot like the previous one, which the independent Vermont senator introduced in the fall of 2017. It envisions a government insurance plan that would pay for all medical services with almost no out-of-pocket expenses, making it more comprehensive than either traditional Medicare or employer policies. The latest version of Medicare for All also includes coverage of home health aides, job counselors, and other supports that allow disabled and elderly people to live on their own. Okay, funding for this legislation would have to come through a combination of taxes and fees in lieu of what employers and individuals pay for insurance today, with government regulating the prices of prescription drugs, hospital services, and every other type of healthcare service in order to keep the program's overall cost manageable, according to this article. All right. So here are some of the Democratic senators that are on board with this new bill. Cory Booker of New Jersey says he's on board with it. Kristen Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren of, well, it should say Massachusetts. There's a typo in the article. Uh-oh, HuffPo, I found a mistake. Not a typo, technically, but a mistake. I found a mistake. Now you have to hire me. You have to hire me to do a video comedy segment where I can just say whatever I want. Much like this, except you just give me a salary. In fact, it would be this. It would just be Get Your News On With Ron, but you put it on your platform, and you pay me a salary. Drop me an email, ronplacone.com. Drop me an email. Here we go. All right, so the new bill's out there. Although Sanders on Wednesday will cite independent studies showing, this is from the article, that a Medicare for All system could actually result in the U.S. spending less money on healthcare, those studies assume savings from simplified billing and lower payments to healthcare providers that some experts worry might not materialize as planned. Okay, so the study funded by the Koch brothers, done by libertarian think tanks, which found out that Medicare for All would save us money. Every analysis they did, they actually inflated the cost because they didn't want that result. They actually inflated the cost to as high as their projections could go. So this article, what this article just said in that paragraph, the opposite is true. Studies that were done by right-wing think tanks that wanted to crap on Medicare for All, that inflated the costs of Medicare for All in these projections, they guessed the highest amount possible. Even those studies revealed that Medicare for All saves money, that we spend more on healthcare now than we do in a Medicare for All system. Taxes would be higher, yes, because instead of paying a private insurance company, you would just pay it in your tax bill, but you would pay less money. We would all pay less money. It would cost less, and it would cover everybody. Right now, we pay more than every other industrialized nation in the world, and we get less. We spend more on healthcare in our GDP than any other industrialized country, and we get less for it. Under Medicare for All, it would cost less, and it would cover everybody, and it would eliminate deductibles. So what they said was actually the opposite is true. Oh, they didn't project high enough. No, they projected as high as they could because they didn't want Medicare for All to come out the victor, but it still came out the victor anyway. And when something similar happened here in California, when they scared people away with the price tag, saying it would cost us this much of our GDP if we had the single-payer bill go through in California. That's how they tried to scare everybody, and it worked, unfortunately. What they didn't tell you was we were already spending more of our GDP on healthcare already. We were spending less. They just scared people with that big dollar amount, But they didn't bother saying we would spend a lower percentage on healthcare than we are now as a state. They didn't mention that part. All right, let's see if there's anything else in here. All right, so Sanders is no stranger to skepticism. The new bill is winning praise from representatives of the disability rights community. All right, just kind of... All right, so this is kind of just jargon. Not jargon, but you know what I mean. Many Democrats in Congress aren't ready to support Medicare for all because their donors don't want them to. Most seem to favor at least some expansion of government-run insurance programs, and even the most conservative members of the party's caucus agree on the need to defend the Affordable Care Act gains against President Donald Trump, who recently announced his support for a lawsuit that would wipe the law off the books. All right. So here's a quote from Bernie Sanders. 34 million have no health insurance. Even more are underinsured, and one insurance company executive pockets almost $100 million for a merger which will only drive healthcare costs higher. Please don't tell me this is a rational healthcare system. Amen to that. Just the idea of making human health a profit center is completely irrational and morally bankrupt on every level. But we just accept that as normal here in the U.S. We just accept that as a business opportunity. And by the way, there's not even unison amongst the progressive party that that's a bad thing. Even the more conservative members of the Democratic Party, according to that article, the more conservative members, which means the most conservative members of a largely conservative party. The Democratic Party is, for the most part, a conservative party. There are some progressives in there because they basically have nowhere else to go right now. But it is largely a conservative party. You know, by the Overton window of the world, we have two right-wing parties. One fringe right, one center right at best. So there's not even unison that we need a universal plan. All right. So that's good. This is gaining steam. This is gaining traction. And again, you're noting that pretty much all the presidential candidates are at least giving lip service to it. Beto O'Rourke has Medicare for America, which is basically just more of the, we might get a public option jargon. It's a nonsense bill. It makes no sense, and it's a giveaway to the insurance industry, which is who candidates like Beto O'Rourke are just openly in bed with, whereas at least the candidates saying they're for Medicare for all, they're at least giving a little more lip service to it. Although I question the sincerity in Kamala Harris. She's already waffled on it in the past. She's also done nothing in her state for it. I question the sincerity of Cory Booker because he went against Bernie on the drug bill, on Bernie's prescription bill. Cory Booker, stabbed that in the back. And Kristen Gillibrand, who's just kind of meeting with Wall Street and doing nothing else. And then I don't think, did they say Klobuchar was for it? Let me see if they said if Klobuchar was on that list. I don't think she was, but let me make sure here before we move on. Yeah, Gillibrand, Harris, Booker, and Elizabeth Warren. And out of that group, I think the only likely one out of that group who actually supports it is Elizabeth Warren. She is the most likely out of that group. All right, so let's move on. This is something I don't know much about, but I'm looking forward to reading. This is going to be fun. So speaking of living wages, here's a politician who went against them. Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugg's Healthy Holly book scandal comes as no surprise. I don't know what this scandal is. All right, so after Pugh, this is according to the article, after Pugh walked back her pledge to sign a bill raising the minimum wage, I knew she was a self-serving politician. Baltimore has caught the attention of the country again. All right, I don't feel like reading all this. No, a Johns Hopkins scientist didn't cure some rare disease, nor did blah, blah, blah. All right, what's the meat here? Let's see. Okay, yeah. This week, the national attention was brought about by a poorly written, self-published children's book, Healthy Holly, authored by Mayor Catherine Pugh. I spit my juice out all over my shirt and jeans when I saw Mayor Pug's face on the most recent episode of Last Week Tonight, John Oliver's show. Let's move on now to Baltimore, a great place to get crabs if you can't find Post Malone. That was the joke that John Oliver said. I knew we were in trouble. This is according to the article. Baltimore has a long history of corruption, but its latest scandal is truly remarkable, Oliver stated, before going on a rant about how the mayor banked $800,000 by selling copies of her typo-written books to people who had contracts with the city. As a board member of the university, all right, so Pug was paid $500,000 to supply 100,000 unsolicited copies of Healthy Holly for Baltimore City public school students. Pug has admitted to not completing the order, with 8,700 untouched copies collecting dust in a warehouse, as if the Baltimore City public school system suddenly has books to spare. The other $300,000 that we know about came from a collection of charities and local business owners. It's hard to believe, this is according to John Oliver, it's hard to believe that Pug's books were bought purely on the basis of literary merit. In her educational children's books about eating right, she spelled vegetable wrong. Wow. Oliver also pointed out on her inability to consistently spell Herbie. Okay, so she's spelling Herbie differently. One of the main characters' names, and how silly little Holly's family looked eating huge salads with a small side of salad for dinner. All right, so I guess she got all these cities to buy her book. Like she forced, or not cities. Okay, so people who have contracts with the cities. She basically contracted them to get this book. Okay, so she was paid $500,000 to supply. Wow, that is corrupt as hell. All right, so Oliver's show aired Sunday evening, just hours after the Baltimore City Council called for Pug's resignation. The entire membership of the Baltimore City Council believes it is not in the best interest of the city of Baltimore for you to continue to serve as mayor. We urge you to tender your resignation effective immediately. The letter was signed by every member of the council except City Council President and Acting Mayor Bernard C. Jack Young, who has repeatedly said that he doesn't want the job. Huh. Wow. Mayor Pug has taken a leave to focus on recovering from pneumonia and regaining her health. And on her leave, she will be writing more. She's going to work on that second book. She's like, my freshman effort kind of floundered for a number of reasons. But I'm going to take this leave. That would be kind of funny if she was just like, all right, I'm going to focus more on writing now. I'm done being mayor. I got some children's books to write. I'm glad I'm seeing this now because somebody once told me I should run for mayor, and I thought about it for a minute, but the only reason I thought about it was because I was going to contract every venue in the city to buy my album and play it on a loop constantly. I see no corruption there or conflict of interest, and I was only going to ask for $250,000 to do it. I'm not greedy. So apparently there's a problem with this, and it's kind of corrupt to make folks that have contracts with the city to make them purchase your content. Apparently that's corrupt. I didn't know this. I was totally going to do that. Like every venue in the city, I was going to be like, you have to put Ron Placone Agnostic Holiday on loop, on repeat. And you also have to pay your ASCAP and BMI fees so I can get some royalties from that. But you have to play my thing. I'm asking for $250,000 for the privilege of you doing that. I'll supply you with a download card. Didn't sound corrupt at all to me, and it was actually my only platform position for running for mayor. It was the only thing I had. They were like, what are you going to do? I was like, everyone's going to play my album. Municipal internet. I'm going to try to get municipal internet in Pasadena, and everybody has to play my album. But that's corrupt, apparently. I'm glad someone told me. I had no idea. I thought that was... and I didn't seriously consider running for mayor. All right, so some of you guys, I got this from a multiple group of people. By the way, that last article was from Marcus. Marcus, I don't know if you're watching or not, but if you are, happy playoff season. The playoffs kick off today, NHL. You guys know me, go Penguins. But it's gonna be a fun series. I know Marcus, who shared the article, is a Caps fan. They're gonna be tough to beat this year. Tampa Bay is gonna be tough to beat this year, but it's playoff hockey. I think any team has a shot. That's the fun thing about playoff hockey. You never really know. I mean, even Columbus and Carolina towards the end of the year, they really they started to really get it together. So, I mean, who knows? You could see a wild card pull off some crazy thing here. I'm not paying as much attention in the West as I am in the East, but anyway, playoff hockey starts tonight. I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's see here. We got one more thing, then I'm going to go to you guys. This happened again. A suspected rhino poacher was killed by an elephant and then devoured by lions. A suspected rhino poacher was trampled to death by an elephant and then eaten by lions after entering South Africa's Kruger National Park. The poaching of rhinos has emerged as a major problem in South Africa in recent years. Kruger National Park, which is home to the world's highest concentration of rhinos, is often a target. Entering Kruger National Park illegally and on foot is not wise. All right. So the man entered the park with a group of fellow poachers, either April 1st or 2nd. Once the men were in the park, suddenly an elephant attacked and killed one of them. His accomplices brought his body to a roadside before leaving the park, then told one of his family members. KNP GM of Communications and Marketing, Isaac Fala, explained what happened next. All right, so the family then called the regional manager, Don English, who, after assuring the family that he would do everything possible to recover the remains and bring them closure, arranged a search party. Rangers on foot, accompanied by members of the KNP, Air Wing flew over the area that was described by the family, but due to failing light, could not locate the body. The team resumed the search on Thursday morning, with further information provided after 4 of the deceased alleged accomplices, who had been arrested in the previous evening by the authorities. During this search, which was boosted with a further complement of field rangers, the remains of the body were discovered. Indications found at the scene suggested that a pride of lions had devoured the remains, leaving only a human skull in a pair of pants. They didn't like the pants. I guess lions don't like ball sweat. Apparently, I had no idea, but they left the pants. So that's kind of peculiar, kind of interesting. You see articles like these a lot, and yeah, it's one of those things. You shouldn't be poaching lions or elephants. You shouldn't be. And, I know that some people brought up, they're not saying any background of who the people were. So we don't know what they were doing there. We don't know if this was a situation, who was involved exactly. But, yeah, you shouldn't be entering parks illegally and trying to poach lions and elephants. What do you think is going to happen? And why are you doing it? I don't know a ton about the history and the subculture. Some people, when we've done other videos like this, because stuff like this happens regularly, some people in the comments have said, look, I know that a lot of times this seems like, kind of justice, because why were they killing these animals for sport? But in many situations, the people that are sent out, that were out doing this, they were people that were very desperate, and their family was starving, and they had no choice but to do this for somebody else who was paying them. So it wasn't the rich person who wanted a carcass as a decoration who got killed. It was the poor person who had no choice, or little choice. I don't know the validity of that or not. I just know that some people have said that in the comments. They're not giving any background on who these people were in this article in particular. So I don't know if there's any merit to that or not. If this was just a safari of people that just wanted to kill animals for fun, I don't feel sorry for this guy at all. But we don't know the background here. But you shouldn't go. I mean, what do you think's going to happen when you do stuff like this? And, So there you go. Is it a little different if the person in this situation is somebody who felt desperate and they had no choice and their family was starving and they knew they had to do something and they thought this was their last resort? Is that different than, hey, this is a rich person who wanted to kill something for fun and got eaten? Yeah, I see those as very different things. Yeah, I see those as two different things. But if you're going to go out poaching, like, what do you expect is going to happen? So that's another for instance of that. Let me go to see what you guys are saying, and that is how we'll dismount today. Let's see. Hey, Ron, can I send you my album when it's done? It will be on vinyl. Yeah, Kyle, of course you can. I have a P.O. box. You can go to my website, ronplacone.com. I have a P.O. box, and I would be honored to check out your music. Let's see. Ron, please give us a random song shout-out. Any song. Any song. Jeesh. That's pretty broad. Check out Be Honest by Craig Finn. Be Honest by Craig Finn. Let's see. What else are you guys saying? Yeah, Be Honest by Craig Finn. That's what I got. Glad to see you're okay after the giant winds of last night. Was it windy? I mean, I live in Los Angeles. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Marianne Williamson for POTUS? Everything I've heard from her, I've liked, but I haven't looked into her a ton yet. But I will. Let's see. It was super windy here in some of Southern California. Cool. Krillin, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. I just heard an interview with Yang, says Krillin. He addressed VAT, saying that it would be weighted towards luxury items than consumed staples, so it wouldn't be regressive. Okay. Please have Lee Carter of Virginia. I would love to have Lee Carter on. I would love to have Lee Carter on. Yeah. I brought it up. He's really big for municipal broadband. Lee Carter is. And I've tweeted him before, and I was like, hey, we got to do a thing like Gingers for Muni Broadband. We had a whole thing on it, but I tweeted, he probably didn't take me seriously, which is fine. I mean, that's fine, but he never tweeted me back. I've tweeted him a couple times about it, where I'm like, hey, we got to do Gingers for Gigabits or something like that. And he never got back to me, but yeah. All right, we are totally out of time. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Tour dates! Get your tickets now for Texas, ronplacone.com. Graham Elwood and I are going to be in Texas this weekend. Fort Worth Friday, Houston Saturday, San Antonio Sunday, Austin Monday. Get your tickets at ronplacone.com. May 1st, I'm going to be in Indianapolis. That's just me. I'll be in Indianapolis. April 19th, first house show of the year in Boulder Creek, California. Email me, ronplacone.com, if you want to go to that show. May 11th through 13th, Graham Elwood and I are going to be in Salt Lake City and Boise. ronplacone.com for tickets for that. And June, we're going to the East Coast, New York City, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., New Haven, Connecticut, Philly, and Boston. ronplacone.com for those tickets. July 27th, we're going to Vegas, baby. The Progressive Comedy Tour is coming back to Vegas. We will see you then. Guys, if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. I want to do more streams. I want to have more guests. I want to do more interviews. Now when I have guests, I try to do a separate stream for it. I don't like having guests when we're just doing a regular stream because that kind of goes against the premise of the show. So that's what I want to try to do. So I want to have more streams. I want to upgrade equipment. I want to do more, but I do need some sustainable support on that end. If you got an extra $1 a month, please do consider it. If not, no problem. I totally get it. Please like and share these videos. It means the world and then some. Celeste, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Noob is my favorite funny word. Poop is my favorite word, period. It's an amazing word. Poop. Come on. Can you beat that? You can't. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. The news has been gotten. I don't even think that makes sense.